Welcome back to the Travsessed podcast. We are your hosts, Kim and Aaron. We are healthcare travelers and the creators of Travsessed, and we are coming to you live from Bali. Just finished Group 1, about to start Group 2, and we are going to dive into that on this week's episode.
Flight crew, please prepare for departure.
Okay, welcome back to the same location where we did our last podcast.
Oh my God. I feel like we haven't been on the mic in a minute.
We haven't.
Listen, I'll say this. These trips are very consuming. Like, they're 12 days and we are like all in. Like, we are with the group every day. We're constantly like go, go, go. So it's like everything else takes a back seat.
100%. And I mean, it's like between, we had 2 days off in this trip for the first time.
We didn't have 2 days off. We had 1 day off. Because Gilly, it's like we still have something planned at...
like 4 o'clock.
Yeah, but like it's not a full day to just kind of do whatever, That's but
true.
we did
So
have one
1.5.
free day, yeah.
But even then, it was still...
we were trying to catch up on everything else.
Catch up. We still had people in the group. People were sick. People were, there was like things to do, right?
Yeah.
So it's, in between that and still trying to like get our rest and rejuvenate, it's like that time flies.
It really does. And it's funny because when you introed the podcast, you said we just got done with our first group, waiting for the second, but this is our third. So we just wrapped our third Travsessed Bali trip, and we're about to start our fourth one, which is crazy.
It's funny, like, to be honest with you, thinking about that, like, when you hear that number, like, oh, how many times have you led a trip to Bali? We're like, oh, this is our fourth, and that sounds so small in number, but it's such a great accomplishment, like, because, like you said, we're in it, like, going all these places. I mean, when you do this trip 3 times, you learn a lot.
Yeah, we learn so much with every trip, and I feel like we've really found our groove now with the Bali trip. And like this group, it was just so fun. It was so cohesive. It was so easy. It's like, we always say, whether it's like in an email or a post or whatever, we're like, oh, come as strangers, leave as family, because a lot of people who come on our trips are solo travelers. They do not know anybody before arriving into Bali. And there's a lot of nerves going into like a group setting, and you don't know what to expect and how is the group going to be. You don't have like your go-to person. It can be a little bit intimidating. And we always say you get to know each other so fast, and we become a family so fast because we get really close because we do everything together. And I think people reading that are kind of like, okay,
yeah, right.
But yeah, how does that happen? You're together for 12 days.
Great tagline.
Yeah, like, oh, what a tagline. Like, come as strangers, leave as family. Like, what bullshit. But really, the people who do come on our trips get that. And even people, like, they get it. You feel that. And this last trip was like, I get it. Like, you just get so close because we are just immersed together for 12 days. And
well, it's just funny
it's
because
really
like
a cool
having
experience.
The conversations that I did, even like, it's funny just how human nature is, right? Like day 1, day 2, people are like evaluating each other, right? Like, where do I fit in? Like, who's my person? Who do I connect with? And like then you start to realize, like, I connect with everybody in this group in my own little way, and I think that's like beautiful to hear. The last day of like everybody missing each other and wanting to stay in contact, and let's keep the WhatsApp group. We literally have the WhatsApp group for every single trip that we've ever run still live.
Yeah. And I felt like super emotional when everybody left and for the first group. And it's interesting because while it's a 12-day trip, it's a lot, and you're ready for some quiet, and you're ready for some space, and we're ready just to have like our own time, especially knowing we're gearing up to run a second trip. And so you're ready for it. But then it's this weird feeling because you've spent every single day with this group of people, every day, coffee together, meals together. You're just in it together every day.
In the van for hours.
In the van, yeah. And then it's just like, poof.
Gone.
Everyone's gone. And it is a transition where, again, we were like, okay, I can't wait. We're going to sleep. We're going to relax. We're going to rest. And I felt really unsettled. I felt emotional. I was sad. I was missing everybody. And I just felt in this weird kind of headspace of, it's always a transition when people leave, even though you're ready for it. People are ready. Okay, let's get on with our normal life and, this and that. Even though most people are like, I hope my flight from Bali is canceled because I want to stay forever. But yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon.
It is. It's a weird psychological thing, because what I never account for, and I feel like I've learned, is for those times, right? Because you and I tend to be like, okay, so we have, we'll have the last night, we'll have fun, and then we'll sleep in, and then everybody leaves. So we have that day to recoup. But that day is always such a mindfuck when it comes down to I was laying in bed trying to sleep, but I knew people were roaming the halls. I knew people were leaving. Do they have rides? Are they heading to the airport? I want to say goodbye. You feel like
you're still on.
You're still on. And so allowing that day and then adding on a couple more days in between because of that recovery time. I mean, it's not like you and I are let's get back into work.
No, you definitely need some. I would have liked one more day because we have the group coming in tomorrow. I don't know. It's this weird thing because I would have liked one more day just to completely sleep, completely rest, just be up into bed, just recharging. But then also, I know we're gearing up to lead the second group. And so there's also that anticipation. This is honestly the stage that I hate because there's so much anticipation. I have so many nerves and anxieties of just, okay, people are going to be arriving. What are they like? What's the dynamic of the group? What's the energy of the group?
Are they going to get along?
Are they going to get along? What's the vibe? And, all of our trips, people have gotten along and it always gels, and I know it always works out, but it's the leading up to it that I'm all right, I just want to be in that day 2, day 3 where you're kind of okay, you're finding the flow of the group and you have a sense of what it's going to be like. It's the waiting for me that I'm I feel unsettled right now.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if you're just now listening to this podcast, Kim and I run adventure trips with healthcare travelers. There's always that 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. We have people that aren't healthcare travelers, but they're connected to one, that come on our trips. This will be our 10th trip. We do locations all over the globe, really opening up some really cool trips for 2024 that we're excited about. So you can check out our trips on imtravsessed.com. Hopefully you've heard through word of mouth about these trips, but they are the coolest thing ever. And I think too, just kind of piggybacking on what you were saying, it's also difficult when you have such a good group to transition and the nerves are elevated because of the fact, when you have a not such a good group, you're kind of okay, I'm interested in what the next one's going to be. But when you have that group that just clicks and they have that awe-inspired look that we love when people come to Bali, because we are showing people Bali that majority of people won't see, right? Our itineraries are that unique and they're that cool and they're that in-depth. And that's what makes this trip so special. And when you see the enthusiasm coming out in the people that are on this trip, it just elevates everybody's experience. And then you start to get the nerves of I hope the next group feels the same way, bonds the same way, but we can't control that. So I think it adds to the anxiety and the nerves.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, there was multiple people in this group that have gone on group trips before and they were this is the best group trip I've ever been on. There's just something so special and unique about it. And I really do feel that. What?
And the flip, there was people that were I never would have gone on a group trip. And now I'm how many Travsessed trips can I go on?
Yeah, 100%.
Which is absolutely incredible.
I think it is about, we've learned so much, right? So we, as being hosts and leaders of these trips, we learn a lot personally. We're growing a lot personally in our relationship and our partnership, and just what kind of leaders do we want to be? What kind of hosts do we want to be? And trying to figure out this balance and dynamic. And we kind of took what we really wanted to work on from the first 2 Bali, and I'm speaking about Bali specifically, our first 2 Bali trips, and really, what did we learn from that? What did we grow? Or how can we grow? How can we improve? And I feel like we've taken that and we really did apply that into this first group. And it just felt good. It felt easy. And I think, yes, it had to do with the group, but it also had to just do with this inner calm and this inner ease within us of taking what we learned. Because like you said, we've created an incredible template. We've created an incredible itinerary and experience for people. But we are not here to control how people experience it or what they're like, what they want to do to elevate their own experience, whether that's going out every single night or showing up hungover or whatever it is. It's not anything to do with us, and we don't need to control anything. It's like, I want people to have the best possible experience that they can, whatever that means to them, and Aaron and I are here to facilitate that for them. Right?
No, totally. And I think too, correct me if I'm wrong, but at least for me, when you first start something, right? When you first start, you have this idea to take people on a group trip that we plan. We take care of everything. All they have to do is show up and have a good time. There is a little bit that you start questioning yourself when it comes down to like, is the itinerary thought out? Is the itinerary like perfect, right? Is there things we can improve on? And like for me, I was unsure at the beginning of like, is this going to flow the way that we see it? And now that we've done it so many times, there is 100% certainty that it is nailed and it will always continue to improve. I mean, we were talking about improvements on the way here to the villa, like little tiny tweaks that will always happen. But the fundamental belief that like, I am so secure in the fact that like, this is the bomb ass itinerary. So for me, it's about just, how can I be of assistance to help others enjoy their trip in the way that they see it? Because I know the itinerary is perfect.
Yeah, 100%. I think too, this next group coming in is different because we only know one person. So we have a group of 11. Usually we only do 10, but one of the girls wanted to bring her friend, so we did 11. We only know one person. So in the entire group. So that's 10 people that are complete strangers to us. And usually we know a handful of people.
3 to 4.
And so it's an interesting concept because, you know, for us, we always know some of the people and like we can lean into them or like we have them as a comfort for us, you know, too. And so I feel a little bit more nervous just because I don't know anyone. I don't really know what to expect. But again, all of our trips begin like that, and then you meet people along the way because we have a lot of like repeat people that come back, and so now they've become friends, and now they become familiar, and they become a comfort because that's just how it works. But this group is all new people, which is awesome because it's new people, you know, coming on a Travsessed Adventure, which will then, you know, a handful of them will become, you know, repeat people and repeat, you know, customers, and we'll build relationships with them too. But there are nerves going into it of just, oh my gosh, like we don't know anyone.
Well, I'm relating this, my mindset wise, to the first ever Travsessed trip to Peru. We knew nobody.
Yeah.
And those have become OGs. Like they come on every single new adventure with us. And it's cool to think that one, like this last group we had, it's really cool when you see it, is like they could merge into that OG group just elevate it, right? So it's just like those Travsessed travelers are becoming like bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's like I want them to meet each other. Yeah. Because it's like, dude, you guys would love the OGs, and like this would just be a really cool group, and kind of building that moving forward. And hopefully with this group, it's like you said, 10 new Travsessed people that are like, let's go on more adventures.
I think too it was an interesting perspective because I felt we always have people that we can lean into on our trips, right? Like I said, and majority in this group we don't. Okay, so there's a little bit of an anxiety of just that beginning stage, right? Of, okay, what's this all going to be like? It's all brand new personalities and people. We don't really know what to expect. And people coming on our trips, 95% of the people are solo travelers, or they do not know each other. most people. Like we have a couple, we'll have friends or we'll have sisters, yes, but majority of the people do not know each other. And so I feel like I was almost able to tap into how they felt of just, it's like being brave to fly across the world and to join a group trip that you don't know anybody, and what are the people going to be like, and I don't have my go-to person, and you're kind of finding your way solo. And I think it's really cool that and brave that people do that, and then you end up finding your people and becoming friends, and you know, we always all connect very quickly. But I feel like I tapped into how they must feel too, of just like, fuck dude, like, I'm so excited, but I'm also nervous.
I mean, that's difficult to do because I guess I've always looked at you as my built-in travel buddy.
Of
and
course.
So it doesn't feel any different to me. I just feel like we're going on a group tour snorkeling, right? Like when we do that, we end up finding a couple people that we really enjoy spending time with. Right? And so like we've done that so much in other countries that I just feel like, okay, that's the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, yes, of course, like we have each other, so we're not completely
G'day.
Solo. And G'day, right. Like our guide here. But, you know, and it's almost like walking into a contract, right? You're walking in by yourself. You have no idea what to expect.
It's true.
Everybody already knows each other. Everybody has a flow. Everybody has a situation. And you're walking in brand new and you're like, what are these people going to be like? What is the flow? And there's a lot of nerves there. But then after a couple days, you're like, cool, like I got this. You're figuring it out. You're finding your flow with the new people. And so I feel like out of anybody, a traveler is going to be able to walk into a situation like this and be like, okay, this is familiar. I got this, you know?
Which is why I think everybody from the outside looking in says this is such an amazing group to take on group trips, because they come into unknown situations by themselves all the time and excel.
Yeah.
And that is the hidden thing that works. Right? Because people ask, like, how does this work? I mean, there's people on the last trip, like Colin was asking me, it's crazy. Like, I was flying here and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know.
What did I get myself into?
Yeah. I don't know if this, like, group is going to click. Like, it's Aaron and I as the only guys. Like, this is crazy. And then he gets here and he's just like, I couldn't picture myself here with anybody else.
I know.
And that's a beautiful outlook and kind of contrast, right, from start to finish of the tagline.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's how I feel too. And it really is like after every group trip, it's always like, I can't imagine that group being anyone else or adding anybody else into the group. Like the groups always are perfect for exactly who was supposed to be in that group. I truly do believe that. You're like, this person wouldn't work in this group, or they throw off the vibe, or they like each group is so cohesive in its own beautiful way. And I found myself even, you know, kind of being nervous about the second trip and wishing it was like reversed, and that the group we just did was our second group, because I'm already familiar with what a great group it is and how easy it was. I'm like, I wish we were going out with that group. But I also know that once we get into this second group, we'll feel the same way too about them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But they all bring their unique treasures.
Yeah,
Every
exactly.
single group has touched us in a way.
Yeah.
That we're like, wow, like we either learned something or we clicked or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Like they were just easy, or it's just, it is what it is. But see, the same belief that you and I put into knowing that the right people will be on the trip is the same feeling that we put into the right people will be there with us, like for us, right? In whatever we need. And so we can let go of the wanting to control, right? And just stepping back and being like, God put these people on this plane, on this trip, in this group, and it is what it is.
And it's going to be perfect.
Totally.
And I know that it will. And I'm just ready to do the damn thing. I'm ready to jump in. I'm ready to get it started. Of course, it's another group of all women. There's one couple, so there's one other dude. And I'm like, dude, we need some men. Like, I love my ladies, but it's a nice balance when you have, obviously for you, that goes without saying, you know, I think you handle things so well. I'm so impressed, because I know that it's challenging for you, you know, trying to be around this amount of women and also trying to build relationships, but it is a different dynamic, right? It just is what it is. And I think you do a great job of trying to find that balance. And it'd be so great to have more guys, and especially because majority of our groups are single girls. It's like, come on, dudes, come on.
No, I mean, I don't know.
Come meet your people.
If you have anybody listening to this that's a guy that you feel would like love group trips, or even couples out there, come on. Like,
I would love
I know
some more
there's travel couples out there that, I don't know, maybe they're just so happy with traveling by themselves they wouldn't do a group trip, but like, I don't know. I mean, again, blessed to have anybody come on this trip.
Of course.
I'm happy that we have enough of an audience that wants to come on these trips that we can keep planning cool trips, but like we do need the ratio up a little bit, because it's
nice to have male energy. It's a nice balance.
It's tough.
Even, with Colin, he was in our first group and he was the only guy. And so it's you and Colin and G'day, but G'day's not always involved with everything, right? And he was able to really bring a great balance to the group, because he was really easy to talk to. So he was fun, and like the girls loved him. And so it was a really nice mix of, and obviously you're like that. So it was like two guys who were able to be with all women, but bring a good, different type of energy to the group.
Totally.
Like without him, you know what I mean? Like, I just felt like he added a lot to that.
He was very like secure in what he was going to do, and he had a bold personality, and so it counterbalanced a lot, and it allowed me to kind of step back and not have to be the male entertainer, basically, right? In a PG way.
Yeah.
But like, because it is, when there's a lot of females, it's a dominant energy that comes out, and it is what it is. Like, I mean,
ladies, tell your guys, come on our trips. We take our tops off. We show our tatas. We jump around. I'm just kidding. No, we did do a topless.
I mean, we're stretching to bring the guys.
We did do a topless photo on our catamaran, but we were, it was just our backs. And we're like, dude, if guys don't want to come on our trip, and I don't think it's like guys don't want to come on our trips. I think it's just our community is 95. Our audience is
98.6.
That's women.
Last I checked.
Women. And I think just healthcare in general is a lot of women, and there's definitely dudes in there, but it's not as common. So
I mean, we build, right? We have Paul, we have Adam, we have Keaton, we have Pat, we have I mean, we have the guys, John, like guys that have come.
We
Sean,
just need
I mean,
more.
There's a lot, right?
Yeah.
But like, it's just the ratio. It's 13 to 1.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I'd like more couples too, because, we are a couple, and it's fun. Like, I love everyone who comes on our trips, and we connect and bond with people in so many different ways. But, it is cool when you have like other couples that you can like sit and chat, and it's just, all single girls. It's a different kind of a vibe. Like, let's go out. Like,
Tell me about it.
Yeah, obviously. So anyways, also just being so, like, we even said this, we say this to all of our groups, but just having such gratitude that we even get to do this, like, truly, and just thanking the people who come on these trips, who trust us with their time, with their money, to plan an incredible trip for them, and putting a lot of trust in us, and showing up and flying across the world and going on this crazy adventure with us, not knowing what to expect, not knowing us in real life. And it's just such an honor to be able to create incredible experiences for people, plan them, and to show people the world. It's such an honor, and I'm so grateful. And even when we're kind of feeling tired, like I was feeling a little bit tired, and I was like, damn, we have to do this again, but I'm like, no, you get to do this again. Like, how amazing is that you're in Bali, and you have 11 new people that you get to share this experience with. And I just felt so grateful in that moment to be able to do this. And so
it also came from the fact that our first group is already home, and they were posting pictures of themselves at work.
Yeah.
And it was like, they're at work. They just left us.
I know.
And we're sitting having breakfast at a beautiful Bali hotel, like about to start another group.
Yeah.
Like that really puts it into perspective.
Yeah, it
and
does.
that's what we hope the energy comes in these groups, right? That like, I'm in Bali, right? Like, I'm here. It doesn't matter if it's hot. It doesn't matter if it's raining. It doesn't matter if there's no real good sunset. It doesn't matter. Like, I am in Bali. I'm not at work, and I'm experiencing stuff that like not a lot of people get to.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good perspective. And just, you know, Aaron and I are really conscious of not complaining. And we even find ourselves, if we're doing something hard, again, we've done crazy hikes, like we've done hard shit. And there's obviously times that we've complained and we're like, oh my God, are we there yet? I'm tired. I'm hot. I'm meh. And we'll catch ourselves and be like, okay, say one more complaint and let's fucking move on. And let's focus more on where we are and what we get to do and what we're grateful for. And that might sound cliche, but it really does turn things around in your mind. Instead of being like, it's so hot, it's so this, it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm hiking through a jungle in Bali. I'm hiking to a waterfall in Bali. I'm not at work. Look at where I am. Look at what I get to do. And it just really, that change of perception really can change your entire experience. And so we try to catch ourselves when we are complaining. Like that's what happened. Like I was complaining. I was like, I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling emotional. Like I'm ready to go home. I want to go back home. I want to get back into my routine, to my gym. We have to host a whole nother group. And I was just like feeling kind of drained in that moment and complaining. And in that moment I was like, no, like turn this shit around. Let's focus on what you get to do. And it really, really, really helped. And it brought me back to that, you know? And I think it's just really important for anybody, whatever you're doing, we can always focus on the shit part of anything. I think it bonds people. I think whether we're at work, like that's something we talk about a lot. We're like, oh, that patient was this. Oh, we're so fucking busy. Oh, we're this. Like we kind of bond over that. But I think instead it's like taking a step back and just being like, no, how can I look at this differently? And if you're going to do it, try to enjoy the experience and not bitch the whole time. What's the point of it? You know?
Well, right, and I realized, contracts help me with that, because it's like when you spend most of the time just bitching and complaining, it's a miserable 13 weeks. So it's like you learn to catch yourself and start to embrace the beauty of like, wow, I really enjoyed that case with that doc, or I really enjoyed talking to the patient for a couple minutes. I really enjoyed having lunch with that new employee that I've never met before, or that new colleague, or just little things like that. Like they had a really good brisket in the cafeteria. I don't know. It's just like little things like that you start to flip and you start to see a difference, even in what you would consider the most miserable experience.
Yeah, and anybody can do it.
And that's why I'm like, you're in Bali. Things get a lot worse, right? Like, Jesus.
And I think the Balinese people are such a good example of that. Is, in their culture, it's ingrained of really focusing on the positive, being
100%.
grateful for what they have. Like, they're literally like, if I have the things I need, the rice and the flowers to make an offering, that's what I'm happy. Yeah. I'm grateful, And
my family's healthy.
It's such a beautiful blessing.
Totally.
To be able to change your perspective like that. It's not always easy, but we're all very capable.
It takes practice
to be able to do that.
It takes awareness and it takes practice.
Yeah.
And I think I've learned that on these trips as well. It's kind of funny that like I've noticed, and I've talked to you about this a lot, because I do think that people forget that small things take thought, right? Like they take an intentional thought, right? Like not everything comes easy, even though it looks easy, right? Like you would think snorkeling is easy. You would think like riding an ATV is easy. You would think riding a bike is easy. You would think that, but no, like just because you're not good at it, like doesn't mean it if you take some time to think about things. And I think that's funny, like, but that is my personality, right? Like if I can't get something, I realize, okay, I'm missing something. So I just need to take a little time, think about this, figure out how this works, and then it's going to be super enjoyable, right? And I think when you push people into situations, it's kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's kind of a good learned skill, just like being intentional with your thoughts. It takes thought, right? It's not just like, oh, that thought's there, I'm just going to say it. it takes you being like, no, like that doesn't really benefit me to state that. Yeah, it's obvious, but I'm enjoying myself, you know? And so it takes that intention.
Yeah. And what I love too is I think our trips, like you're saying, like piggybacking off that, is whether how big or how small, whether we're talking about snorkeling, whether we're talking about, you know, cliff jumping, whether we're talking about traveling internationally, like
Getting on a plane.
We have a lot of people that experience things for the first time on these trips, and seeing people face their fears, how big or how small, like Joe with the jumping, right? Like, I love Joe, and she hiked in Peru with us, and you know, we went to a waterfall where we were cliff jumping essentially, and she was so scared. Like, she kept going back and forth. It's like, I just can't physically, I can't do it. But you could tell, like, you knew she wanted to so deeply, but she was so scared to do it. And then finally she's like, no, I'm just not going to do it. I'm okay with it. And then we came back up and we talked about it, and I was like, are you going to think about this later? And she's like, yeah, I am. And I'm like, I know you're scared. It's normal to be scared, but be scared and jump anyways. You're safe. You're physically safe. You're not going to be hurt.
She was physically capable of doing it.
She was physically capable of doing it. It was her mind. And so she ended up jumping, and it was like, she was so proud of herself.
She had perfect form.
I know.
She came down perfectly, and just the joy of her face when she came up.
Like, I did it.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool to see.
I know. So it's just things like that I love to be a witness for our trips. Even me, I mean, I still haven't driven the ATV. That's one of my fears that I haven't. I feel like I'm always open to conquering a fear. Like, I'll try anything. I'll push myself if I'm scared. But for me, the driving, I have such anxiety around driving, just anything, that I do not trust myself. So that's something that I haven't been able to conquer on my own. And maybe one day I will, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we do it enough, so you'll slowly build. But I mean, you've made a thing out of being a passenger princess.
I like being a passenger princess. I have so much fun because I trust you, and I get to just enjoy the experience, but, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting.
It is what it is. Is there anything else? I think let's save the whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shorter episode. You okay with that?
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we have an hour and a half until our massage, so.
Yay! We've got
20.
We've got people coming to the villa. We're gonna get a massage, get everything set up for the group, and then we're totally just gonna unplug, relax, recharge.
Get in the pool.
And tomorrow starts
Day 1.
Group 4, man. That's like.
I love that Gaday's been saying, like, Travsessed Bali 4, Travsessed Bali 3.
I know.
I mean, that's another. I mean, that is one thing. It's just like so cool to, like, you know, this trip, this Bali round started on the 7-year anniversary from the first day we stepped foot in Bali.
Which is really powerful.
And that is like super cool. And it was like we met Gaday on that trip.
Yep.
And we filmed a YouTube video with Gaday. And like, to think 7 years later, we're starting our 4th Bali experience with Gaday, which has totally made this trip even better.
Oh my God,
I mean,
yeah.
It'd be undoable without his guidance and driving and taking that big ass bus up the smallest roads in the world, and like, and just growing and seeing him as a person and seeing him grow as a business person and a friend. It's just been a really cool.
No, it's incredible. Like, who would have thought 7 years later we'd be here running group trips with Gaday? I mean, it's all just such a beautiful experience, and we're exactly where we need to be. And people tell us on our trips all the time, like, you guys are doing exactly what you're meant to do. And I really do feel that. I feel like we really are. Like, we have the energy for it. We have the love for it. We have the passion for it. We have the desire to really take the time that it takes to create really unique and special trips and to show up and make sure our group is having the most incredible time. And like, we're social, but we're also, that's what I try to find my balance with. It's like, I'm very social, but I also recharge by being alone, and I need that. And so I can't go with the group every single night. I know myself enough to know when I need to kind of scale back and recharge my battery, so that the next day I can show up fully, right? I'm not going to just show up half-assed with people. So that's definitely something I'm always working on in these like social settings, because it's not just like a dinner. It's like 12 days of being with each other, right? So,
I mean, you've taught me that, because it's like I've always felt like I have to bring the energy all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I have to be out. If the group goes out, I go out. Because it's like I need to be there in case they need something, and like I can make sure they get back to the hotel and they don't get lost and don't end up saying Komanika in a different like island. You know, it's like they're safe, right? Because it is majority female, and like I want to be there to make sure that they feel safe and comfortable. But then again, like you said, like I can't show up the next day as my best self if I'm just going that hard.
Yeah, you don't have this stamina.
No. And if it was just one group, maybe.
Oh, if it was one, that's so different. Like, honestly, like if we only had one group, yeah, you can go, you have way more energy. Because I think especially in the first group too, I tend to hold back, not hold back in a way of like, we have things planned every single day. So like we show up, we do all the group activities. But a lot of times people in our groups, they want to go out afterwards. Oh, let's go grab a drink. Let's go listen to music. Let's do this. And our mornings start very early. That's just the way our trip's designed. We like to get an early start because that's how you beat crowds. And we just like to get up and go so we can enjoy where we are. And so for me, like I tend to hold back with going out additionally at night with the group, even though that's fun and you can bond, and we have to pick and choose what we're going to participate in, especially with the first group, because we know our energy also has to be saved for the second group. So it's like you have to know yourself enough to know when you got to take a step back, when you need to recharge, when you can show up. And it really is like a balancing act that we're always trying to figure out. Where like this second group, I feel like I can leave it all out on the field because I know. Did you like that reference?
Look at you, sports reference.
I know.
Wow.
You taught me well.
Wow.
But like, because I know the trip ends, I'm getting on a plane that next day and I'm flying home.
In business class.
So, because we upgraded with our points. So it's like, I feel like I don't have to reserve so much because I know I'm done after this. So in a way, I do feel like when we do back-to-back trips, the second group maybe does get a little bit more just because we know we're done after that. I don't know. But then the first group, we are more refreshed. I don't know. I think it's different for both. It doesn't matter. We still show up.
Totally. I think we show up the same, and we show up with the energy that the group brings. And like,
that's true.
I do believe, though, the good reference is basically like running a marathon. You're never going to run the first half of the marathon full speed. That's just silly, right? You're going to pace yourself. You're going to build. You're going to check in at that halfway mark and say, I just did 13.1. How do I feel?
Yeah.
I feel good. Okay, let's pick it up a little bit because I know that I don't have another one to do after, right? So it's just like you can pick up the pace. And when Kim and I used to run half marathons, like we used to run the first 7 at like a 10, 11 pace. But then after that first half, it's like, let's go. Like we'd start hitting 8, 7s, minute miles because you can lay it all out there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the relation that I feel with these trips.
100%. And I think too, people ask us like, you're running the same trip over and over again. Like, does that get boring, or you're just doing the same shit over and over again? And while that's true, it's every single group's energy gives us a new experience because every group is different. So it's like we experience some things completely different than we did with another group just because of the dynamic of the group. So even though, yes, we've already done the waterfalls, we've already done the ATV, we've already done the things, we've already done the catamaran, but it's always different because of the people. So it's like you and I do get a new experience because we're experiencing it through them.
Totally.
And I love that.
Totally. Yeah, and every group is different. Some are more adventurous, some are more crazy, some are more
chill,
drinky, some are more party, some are more chill. Like, I mean, it's
just
always different.
I will say too, I was like sitting on the beach this morning and I was like, okay, like I really want to try to be present and in the moment, because this always happens with like our group trips. We're like, how are we only on day 3?
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, we have so much more trip ahead of us. Like, that's so crazy. We feel like we've been doing this for a year already. And then before you know it, it's a whirlwind and it's over. And it really does. It speeds up and it's like before you know it, you're boarding a plane to leave. And so I'm like, okay, like just try to really be present in the moment every single day. You know?
I mean, this villa does it for me. It's like sitting here doing this not this podcast, but our podcast on the day before everybody arrived. To look back on that seems like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was literally like that group came and left.
I know.
And it's like, wow, dude, like all the things we did in between.
It's really weird.
It is.
And just the fact that we were sitting here recording this podcast in the same exact location, and we knew 3 people in the group last time. We didn't know anyone else, and it was like we had the same feeling of just anticipation. What's the group going to be like? What is it like? Like, we had no freaking clue what we were getting into. And just to think that they came, we had an incredible time with them. That like they were such a fun group, we missed them, and it's all over. And now we're here doing the same thing again. And I know the next podcast we do will be like, this group was awesome for this, like, it's just such a weird, I don't know. It's kind of like a mind fuck in a way. You're like, what the heck? But I'm excited to get into it. And yeah, I guess we'll just kind of leave it here. We probably won't do another podcast, honestly, until we get back home to West Virginia, because we'll be with the group for 12 days. And then the group ends on the 7th, and we're literally flying home with the group, which we normally always say a couple extra days. But we're leaving so Aaron can get back to work. Lame sauce. But I will say, I love being in Bali. I love traveling. I love everything about it, but I'm always ready to get back into like a routine.
Yeah, I mean, I got 6 days before I go back. So.
Yeah. We'll have our Netflix and chill.
Oh, sleep.
Yeah. So we'll leave it here, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Next time you hear from us, it will be
another
from
group down.
West Virginia. Send us love. Send us all the good vibes for this group and for everyone just to have the most incredible experience together. And Travsessed Bali Group 4, let's do it.